Lafayette's Arcadia Outreach Center is geared to help people down on their luck transform into self-sufficient citizens. Outreach Executive Director Valerie Keller says many people may think they're helping someone by giving them money on the street, but she says that could be adding to their problems.
Many people who are panhandling and living on the streets have a substance abuse addiction, a mental illness, sometimes both. And that's what we're about, helping people transition from the streets to self-sufficiency and not enabling them.
On a chilly, quiet night, you'll find the Arcadia Outreach Center to be a very busy place as dozens of homeless people line up to escape the freezing weather.
Staying warm. Try not to die out there tonight.
And that's why the Arcadia Outreach Center will extend its hours and open its doors to the homeless all night long tonight for what organizers call the freeze plan.
This is life-threatening temperatures, and so we want to make sure that people have an alternative, some place to go besides an abandoned building or sleeping out on the street. I think one of the biggest challenges that I face in terms of leadership and affecting change through leadership was in the time leading right up to Hurricane Katrina and right after. Our organization had been very focused on ending poverty and homelessness for people and our most vulnerable citizens, and we had found that there was kind of a sense of it is what it is. It's always going to be this way. And so the challenge that we faced first was around helping align people around a new vision to say, actually, the paradigm can be turned on its head. Instead of managing homelessness, we can end homelessness, using language that people could enter into in terms of saying these are our most vulnerable citizens instead of those people. So creating kind of a sense of we there. And then finding people who, and organizations and that maybe would have seen that they didn't have a role in solving the problem coming in as vested stakeholders. So the business community, for example, landlords and people who could benefit once people would be housed, getting them to the table to say this is something that we need you involved in because we have a problem. It was actually a moment in that crisis where it could be a convening moment. So we had said, we've got this plan on ending homelessness. This is what needs to be put in. Let's plug and play. Right at that moment. And so how we did that was building a very wide tent. We created coalition and we've got business at the table, and not just business, but networks of networks. So the heads of chambers of commerce, the faith community, right? That they had a moral imperative to end homelessness, and this was our opportunity to do that and to model that and something that could be scaled at a national level. And we brought together obviously a lot of stakeholders from the nonprofit, NGO community. And it was around being able to speak in people's different languages, right? To say, what's the benefit for them? What's the win for them if we are able to end homelessness together? And the end result of that was because we got a wide enough tent pulled together and we had enough people who got buy-in on this and they said, yes, we're committed to doing this and now's our time. Then we were able to garner media attention and we were able to use political leverage to affect change. And the interesting thing was how that was done. That was done by pulling what normally would have been people at different polar opposites together in a shared common vision. So it's about reframing the problem, if you will, into a solution in homelessness, housing, dignity. When we had naysayers, and of course you will always have naysayers in every group, what we did in some cases, honestly, was to not include them on future conversations. I called them substitutes and slowdowns. So substitutes would be people who maybe were threatened by the shift. So in this case, it would have been people who were providing shelters for homeless people, because if you're housing homeless people, now they're irrelevant. So in some cases, they were the naysayers. This isn't possible, this won't happen, etc. And we wouldn't include them necessarily in future conversations going forward because they weren't bought into the same greater we. In some cases, just because someone looks like they should be a stakeholder and they looks like they should be at the table doesn't mean necessarily that they should be. And I think it boils down to saying, pulling people together and convening, you're convening usually across, and I believe in social change movements, you're convening across business, across government, and the NGO, philanthropic sector as well. But it's also important to remember that you're convening people and the people's dynamic, who they are, what they bring to the table. Are they committed to a greater win for everybody, or are they going to be kind of a naysayer slowdown? it really makes a difference in terms of being able to move an initiative forward.